you so very much for joining us here today at Church on the Rock. We're so excited to have you, and we pray that God has a very specific word for you today. If you haven't checked out our website, let me urge you to go to jesusistherock.org. There you can find all of our latest news, blog posts, and messages. Also, while you're there, you can very easily give to our ministries financially by clicking on the giving button at the very top right-hand corner of the screen of any web page. Thank you again for joining us today, and let us prepare ourselves to hear from God.
All of us deal with it. Some of you are here today because maybe just the title intrigued you. You know, God deals with stress. I'm dealing with anxiety. I'm frustrated on my job. I'm frustrated at home. I'm frustrated over finances. I don't know what to do. You know, I go to work. I don't want to be there. I go home. I don't want to be there. We deal with these issues. We get our wires crossed. We're short with one another. We're short with our wife, with our husband, with our kids. Stress. We've been hearing a lot lately about the Ebola outbreak, and you know, the world's in a panic, and rightly so, a deadly disease, and now it's reached the United States. But can I tell you, there is a far more deadly and widespread disease in America called stress. Stress and anxiety and depression is killing people every day. So many tombstones out there could read, they died of stress. They literally died of stress. People put guns to their head. People take pills. People just age 2 for 1. People, have you ever noticed presidents go into office and they have dark hair and they come out and they're gray-headed? Stress. Stress does things physically to us. In Philippians chapter 4, Paul writes in verse 1, he says, "My beloved brothers and sisters," there was 2 women who got their wires crossed in church. He said, "Stay true to the Lord." He said, "I love and long to see you, dear friends. You're my joy and crown. I receive my work. Now I appeal to you, Euodia and Syntyche, please, because you belong to the Lord, settle your disagreement." They got their wires crossed. I don't know what it was about. Maybe one of them was supposed to make potato salad and the other one thought she was supposed to make. Somehow they got crossed up. Folks get crossed up in church all the time because we have so many different opinions, so many different things. I don't think we ought to do that. I think it's too hot in there. It's too cold in there. I don't like that kind of music. I wish they would do this. I wish, you know, and it's just, we get our wires crossed. And, you know, people, well, I don't like, you know, I don't think we ought to hand out peppermints at the door. You know, the best thing you can do, don't eat peppermint. That's easy. Don't get your wires crossed. Just don't. I don't think we ought to serve coffee. Don't drink coffee. Make yourself happy. Don't get your wires crossed over things. It's so easy. We get these disagreements in church, and all of a sudden you got a church split. You got folks fighting over whether or not we ought to do this or we ought to do that. And Paul writes to the Philippians, he says, get this stuff straight. Settle your disagreement. And I ask you, my true partner, to help these 2 women. For they worked hard with me in telling others the good news. They worked along with Clement and the rest of the co-workers whose names are written in the book of life. And here's why he says, always be full of the joy of the Lord. I say it again, rejoice. Let everyone see that you're considerate in all you do. Remember, the Lord's coming soon. And he don't care if you're eating peppermint or not. Jesus is coming, church. The Lord's coming soon. Does it really matter? The Lord's coming soon. We get all bent out of shape over silly things that don't matter. Jesus is coming. We have work to do. We have things to do. We have a business to be about. Paul is writing and saying, guys, you got to stop the pettiness. You got to stop stressing. You got to stop having these anxiety, panic attacks over things that don't even really matter. Jesus is coming. What are you doing for God? This morning, if there's one message that I'm going to try to relate to you, and we're going to talk about some things with stress and anxiety and things, but if there's one thing that I want you to leave here with, I want you to understand that we're talking about real life, tangible things. One of the problems in the Gospels, we tend to over-spiritualize things. We think about it in the abstract. We think about, yeah, that's good. Everybody love one another. But love becomes a noun. Love is, love is love. Love's not a noun. Love's a verb. Love one another. Don't think about it, do it. Don't think that's cool to say a kind word. Go say a kind word. Let me get on out on thin ice. Don't think tithing is a good idea. Tithe. God didn't suggest it and say it would be a pretty cool thing. If you did, I'll bless you for it. No, he said do it. Bring the first fruits of your income into the church. Do it. Love one another. All through the Bible, he said, fear not. Let not your heart be troubled. Be of good cheer. Those are not suggestions, they're commands. When you don't do it, you sin. I want us to think practical. When God says do it, he means do it. When he told Naaman, who had a disease, he said, go dip in the river Jordan 7 times and you'll be cleansed. If he did it 6 times, it wouldn't have worked. He said, do it 7. Do it. Don't think that sounds pretty cool. Do it. The little woman said with the issue of blood, if I could just press through the crowd and touch the hem of his garment, I know I'll be whole. But if she made it halfway and said, there's too many people, it wouldn't have worked. Do it. I want us to think practical. I want us to think tangible because God is a tangible, physical God. He said, take this bread, eat of it. Don't think it's a cool idea. Eat it. Take this juice, drink it. This is the New Testament in my blood. Don't look at it and say, hey, this is cool. This is the New Testament in his blood. Isn't that awesome? Let's do a teaching on it. No, drink it. Eat it, drink it, do it. Because we're physical people. We need physical. We need tangible. We need things we can touch. We need things we can relate to because we live in a real world. And that's how we get our wires crossed, by the way, because we start thinking. And I wonder what they're saying, and I wonder what they're doing. And I know what you're thinking, and they said this about me, and I'm sure that they did this. Stop all that. Do it. Deal with it. Get your wires uncrossed. Go to them. And that's what Paul's telling them. Let's fix this problem. Let's fix this problem. All right, he moves on in verse 6. He says, don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Don't think about praying about it. Pray about it. Tell God what you need. Don't tell me, Pastor, I need some shoes. Well, tell God. And thank him for all he's done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. All right, flip over 20 pages or so to 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6 and 7. It says, humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he cares for you. Don't think about it. Cast it. Cast it. Do it. Don't think, man, I wish, I really should trust God for this. No, do it. Casting all your care upon the Lord. Anxiety. Statistics tell us that over 50 million prescriptions a year for Xanax are written in this country alone. That's just one drug. Never mind Zoloft and Celebrex and all this. Listen, no condemnation, just revelation. You may be, I'm not here to condemn you. I'm just giving you statistics. 50 million prescriptions a year for one drug. That's over 1 script per second. Every second, prescriptions written, that's just for Xanax. About 40 million adults 18 and older are being treated for anxiety disorders right now. I tell Missy all the time, I say, you know what, I just want to move back to Little House on the Prairie. I do. I want to throw my cell phone away, get me a plow, or Mayberry. I want to go to Mayberry. I want to go to Mayberry and live. We live in a world of stress. We're stressed about everything. We get up early so we can get to work early because we got to get home early because we got to get to bed early because we got to get up early and we got to get to work early and we got to, we got family, we got this and we got finances, we got bills and credit cards and mortgages and stuff, and we're stressed all the time. Stressed with our kids. We're stressed with our wife, stressed with our husband, stressed with folks at church, getting our wires crossed, snapping at this one, ugly at this one, aggravated, can't make ends meet, don't know what we're going to do. Anxiety. What is anxiety? The dictionary describes anxiety as this: a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an upcoming event or something with an uncertain outcome. You know the strange thing? Most of what we worry and stress about never come to pass. That's the crazy thing. We stress, we worry, we fret. What am I going to do? What if this happens? And so, what if I get laid off? And what if the kids get sick and the car breaks down? I don't know. We don't have savings. I don't know what we're going to do. And it never comes to pass. And we're stressing about this stuff. Somebody said worry's like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but doesn't get you anywhere. The world rests on his shoulders. He's the Alpha and Omega. He's the beginning and the end. He's the first and the last. He's the creator. I'm the creation. I'm not the end all of end all. He's the end all. He has the final say. It's not over till he says it's over. He's in control. I'm not in control. And so this morning, I address anxiety with this question. This speaks to the root of anxiety. When you're anxious, when you're worried, when you're fearful, when you're depressed, when you're stressed out, I have to ask you this one basic question: who is your God? This is what it comes down to. Like it, love it, hate it. How big is your God? If your God is some abstract somebody that's up there somewhere, out there somewhere, you're off center. And it's no wonder your thoughts are spiraling out of control, because we've lost our concept of who God is. To many, God is some ogre. God is up there somewhere looking over the portals of heaven, just waiting to crush us and cast us into an abyss somewhere. And it's such an indictment. It's such a misrepresentation of God. At best, he's uninterested. He's unapproachable. He's up there. He's out there. Certainly not concerned with my power bill. And if that's how you see God, it's easy to see how you feel alone and helpless. So our prayer becomes a prayer for help, but it almost becomes a prayer of desperation. He says, when you pray, pray in faith, believing you receive those things. We pray like the guy that says we'll work for food. We're kind of, I'm hoping somebody will stop and give me something. We'll work for love, God. We'll work for salvation. Tell me what to do. Tell me what to read. Tell me what church to join. I'll do it. I'll do whatever. And that's sort of our concept. And it's still I. That's not who God is. It's not even close. In fact, it's a damnable lie. It's the lie of all lies. The first lie in the Garden of Eden. Lucifer said, God doesn't love you. If he loved you, he'd let you eat anything. He's just trying to hold you down. It's the first lie, and he's perpetrated it ever since. God doesn't care about you. You think God cares about your power bill? Get a grip, man. He's got Iraq to worry about. He's got Ebola. He's not worried about your car note. And he's a lie from the pits of hell. The Bible said he knows when a hair of our head falls. He cares. Peter writes, cast all your cares on him. He cares for you. He didn't just die for you, church. He cares for you. He says, I do not want you to be anxious. But in order for me to care for you, you must cast your cares upon the Lord. Let me try to bring this in for a landing. I love that phrase, cast your cares upon the Lord. When we were young, and Tony and Sammy and Hank and Mike, all of us, we used to go mulleting, and we would wade out into the water, and we would take cast nets. You take these cast nets, and they're big nets, and you get them out, and you're wading up waist deep, and they get wet, and they get heavy, and they stink. They got fish guts in them and scales, and they've actually got chains or weights around the bottom to make them sink quickly to go around the fish. And you're carrying these big things, but suddenly you'll see fish break in the water, or sometimes you'll even feel them hit your legs. You know you're in a school of them, and all of a sudden you take a spin and you cast that thing like that. And it's such an awesome feeling. It's such a release. You've got this big, heavy weight that you're carrying, and you cast that thing out, and it comes out, hopefully, to a perfect circle. Sometimes we used to throw what you call bananas, but you cast that thing and it makes a perfect circle and it hits. And you just want to clap. It's so liberating when you cast that thing. And that's the picture that Paul paints here. Casting all your cares on the Lord, for he cares for you. Unburdening yourself, unstressing yourself, casting. And herein lies the cure. We're buckling, church, under this weight of stink and weight and wet and all of this life. Our minds are about to short circuit. We're popping pills. We're doing this. We're worrying. We're stressing. The best thing the world has to offer is take a pill. It's the best we've got. Take a pill. Numb your mind. And for a few hours, does nothing to remove the pain or change the circumstances, it just numbs our brain. But God says, I'll take your cares. I want to bear your burdens. I want to replace your fears with my peace. Paul writes, and the peace of God will guard your hearts and mind. I want to guard your heart. I want to ease your mind. I want to bear your burdens. I want to carry your cares. But one thing I won't do, I will not steal them from you. I won't steal them from you. I won't rob you of your tithe. I tell you, forsake not the assembling yourselves together. Even more so as you see the days approaching. But I won't come pick you up and bring you to church. I won't drag you out of bed. I'm telling you to do it. Some folks need to get back in church. Some folks, you've let other things become a god in your life, and it's taken over your life. Church is a great idea. It's just not something I do. Tithing, giving, offering, I think it's a great idea. I love to see what all it does. I love to see what the church does. It's a great idea. I just choose not to do it. I read you a little quote the other day that said, we've either got to do one or two things. We've either got to make up our mind that Jesus was just as selfish as we are and did not care about helping the poor and ministering to people, or else he commanded us to do it and we just don't want to do it. Either way, we have to come down on one side or the other. It's not enough, church, to know what's right. We got to do it. It's not enough to say, I know I can cast my burdens upon the Lord. I know he'll take my burden. I know. No, it doesn't matter what you know. It matters what you do. Do it. Cast your cares upon the Lord. You say, well, did God already know my request? Yes, but that's not the point. In order to move us back to center and get rebalanced, he wants us to participate in our healing. He lets us get involved in the process. How do we do that? By letting our requests be made known. Think physical. Think tangible. Not just in your imagination. That's why we take communion every Sunday. It's not something we think is a cool idea. Jesus said, this is my body broken for you. This is my blood shed for you. Isn't that nice? He broke his body. No, he said, as often as you do this, eat it, man. Drink it. And when you do it in remembrance of me. Why? Because we're physical. We're tangible. If we were God, we wouldn't need to do it. We could just think the thoughts and we could be up there with him in the spiritual realm. We're not. We're human. I need something I can touch my hands to. I need a cup I can put in my hands and say, this is his blood. I need it. I'm human. I'm physical. I need to touch something. I'm tangible. I need to do that. Sometimes I can just ride down the road praying. Sometimes I need to stop and get on my knees or get on my face before God. It's not that God really hears anymore. I need it. I need to pull down the shades, turn off the TV, turn my face to the wall, and I need to talk to God. It's not for him, it's for me. It's for me. Sometimes I need to go to my brother's grave at the cemetery. It's not him. He's not there. I'm not doing it for him. I need to go sit and talk to him. It's for me. It's tangible. I'm human. I need to do something. I need to do something. So we're going to close this service this morning in a little bit different way than we normally do. Normally, one of the things we do, if you're here, the Bible said no man comes to God except the Spirit of God draw him. We know what that's like. We're sitting there, our hearts beating fast, and we're saying, God, I don't know if anybody else gets that's me though. And I know there's things I know, but I know there's things I'm not doing. And so we'll call for people to come forward, find a place at the altar and pray. That's something we do. We're going to take it one step further this morning because I've had this idea in my head of this casting our cares upon the Lord. I did this one time. I was in a counseling session, and I had a guy, and he was telling me all of his anxiety and his stress and his things. And I told him, I said, here's what I want you to do. Here's a piece of paper and a pencil. Write down for me what's stressing you. Sometimes that's enough. Because sometimes when you write down what's really stressing you, you look at it and say, well, that's dumb. That's dumb. That's dumb. That really shouldn't stress me. Sometimes that's enough. Because the enemy's just got your wires so crossed up that you're stressed over nothing. But sometimes I write them, okay, man, my wife's left me. I've lost my job. I'm an alcoholic. I can't quit doing this. My kids are this. And I said, write them down. And he wrote them down. And I got a pair of scissors and I cut them into strips. And I got him a bucket and I said, here's what I want you to do. Because this is my place. I like the beach. I love the beach. That's my sanctuary away from my sanctuary. I love the beach. I said, I want you to go to the beach. And if there are any police in here, forgive me, give me mercy because I littered. I told him to litter. I said, but I want you to walk out on the city pier. And I want you to get out to the end of it. And I want you to take this bucket with all this stuff. And I want you to physically cast your cares upon the Lord. And I want you to hurl that thing into the air and let it fly and let it go. I said, now let me tell you what's going to happen. The enemy's going to come back in an hour, a day, a week, or a month. He's going to come back. He's going to start talking to you about those cares and those anxieties. Because sometimes we say, well, I put it on the altar, but then I picked it back up. No, you don't pick it back up. When you give it to God, you give it to God. What you got to do is look at the enemy and say, hey, baby, you got the wrong address. If you're looking for my troubles, I gave them to God. I cast my cares upon the Lord. You're going to have to hunt up his address and go find them. What I've got is peace. He gave me peace. When I used to cast that cast net, one of the things I loved to pull up was fish. I cast that thing and I pull up fish. Well, we even helped you with that because somewhere down here, some of our folks got some fish. How about that? How about that? We got you a fish. That's the peace of God. That's all I can say. It's fish. It's what we're going after. When we cast our cares upon the Lord, he gives something. He promises something back, doesn't he? Didn't he say that let your requests be made known unto God with thanksgiving, and the peace of God will guard your hearts and minds? So I want to invite you. There should be in every seat here this morning, there should be a piece of paper. There should be a pen close by you. And I want to take about a minute as our worship team comes back. We're going to let you go. Thank you for your patience. I know we've been a little bit long this morning, but I think this is something that I hope it's going to help you. I want you to take about a minute, and I just want you to write down what's stressing you. Nobody's going to read this. This is between you and God. We have right up here a little trash can. That's That's where we're going to cast our cares. It's got fear and doubt and worry and all this. But I want you to be specific. I want you to be specific. I got moral failure in my life. I'm having lust problems. I'm having financial problems. I can't control my temper. You know, I'm having problems in my marriage, and whatever it is, I want you to write it down. And we're going to cast our cares upon the Lord. And then I want you just to come over here and just pick up the peace of God. Just pick it up and put it in your pocket. So when the enemy comes at you this afternoon and says, you know what, you still got the same issue, pull it out and say, I got peace. I got peace. I cast my cares on the Lord. If you want to find them, go find him. I got peace. There's a song we like to sing around here. We're not going to end on a sad note. There's a song around here we like to sing. It says, break every chain. I feel the chains falling. Break every chain. So as the worship team leads us, I want you to stand.
Again, thank you so very much for joining us here today at Church on the Rock. I pray that our message has impacted you in a positive way. If you would like to share how our ministries are impacting you, you have a specific prayer request, or maybe you want more information about our church or how to get involved in our ministries, you can easily email us at pray@jesusistherock.org, or you can look us up on Facebook or Twitter at Church on the Rock, Pascagoula. Have a very blessed day.
God raise up a generation.